Welcome, one and all. How are you doing? My name is C Truth. I am a host of Thermal Soundwaves and Indie Review. And today we are doing a special coverage. We're talking to some artists, some filmmakers, a filmmaker in particular today. That's going to be at the Conch International Film Festival. Make sure y'all come out. That's going to be live and in the flesh in Queens, Forest Hills, New York City. Make sure you come out. For more information, ConchIFF.com is where you go, folks. Joining me today is someone with extreme talent, as we only require at Conch International Film Festival. She's a filmmaker, talented entertainer, writer, director, etc., etc., etc. She goes by the name of Gabri Christa. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. It's so great to be here, Seathroot. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. And we love having you here. And for those who are unfamiliar with Gabri, what section of the world do you represent?
Well, I was born and raised in Curaçao, Dutch Caribbean. Dutch colony still, I might add, even though we have a little different status. And I am here with a film from Suriname where my dad is from, where my dad is from. I have a lot of family in Suriname as well, which is still also part of the Caribbean, we feel.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah, cousins.
yeah,
It's cousins. Like
cousins, yes, 100%.
Guyana, French Guyana, Suriname. That's all of our cousins. So
Yes,
it's all the same family. All the same
yes,
family.
100%.
Absolutely, yes. And big up to my godbrother who was married in Curacao
Got it.
many
Love
many
it.
years ago.
Mhm.
Great place. And I was in Aruba some months ago, just next
Mhm.
door. So very great part of the world. That whole area, that section.
Yeah.
When did you get interested in doing film and making film and telling stories?
Well, it's a bit of a long story, but the short version is growing up in Curacao, you just make things like I did. We make things with what we have, not much to do. So I started actually writing and one day started making dances. And also I was mentored by Felix de Roy and Norman de Palm, really well-known filmmakers actually in the Caribbean, did films such as Avant Gabriel. Um, they were living in Curacao at the time. So my first thing in film was that I um, was in their films, their first film.
Hmm.
Then I started dancing. So I became a choreographer first. And that was my career till still is to a certain extent. But then that was that career because I was like, I have a window on being a choreographer and we'll pick up the film later. Meanwhile, I did some assistant production in Amasita di Desolato, also from Felix and Norman. Ernest Dickerson was the DP. So I've been behind the scenes a little bit. Never really interested in being in front of the camera, actually. And then one day I just felt like I couldn't say what I wanted to say anymore in the way I wanted to say it on stage. And I started making films, dance films, experimental films, documentary. I mean, also a producer of Tula Revolt, which is a feature film shot in Curacao about our slave revolt, enslaved people's revolt. Yeah, and that's pretty much sort of the short of it. Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm looking at your rings. Is that shells that it's made out of? The rings that you have on? Like what
No,
is
those
that
are
exactly?
stones. I'm really into, stones and natural things and what
And
the
energies of crystals and stuff like that?
energy of crystals and all of that. And then
Gotcha.
this is special for today. It's a little bean from Suriname.
Gotcha. Who are the original people of Curacao and the original language? Are you familiar with all of that? Could you?
Oh, of course. Well, as everywhere else in the world, the original people were, of course, Arawaks, the native people, who we have none left, and then the imported enslaved people from Africa, and then our language in Curacao, native language, is papiamento, which is originally a mix of Guinea from West Africa and Portuguese, which were the first ones. And then, it's evolved, but it's still one of the few islands who had that as a language of resistance, I would say.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
And the film that is going to be in Conch this year, can you? I don't want to mess up the pronunciation, so if you could do that and tell us the name of the film.
Yeah, we can say the translation of it. It's the silk cotton tree. Is the
Okay.
Kankantri. It's all over the Caribbean, and it's like the giant of the forest. It's a tree that people never cut. It's the tree. It's huge, and you see them in the landscape. It's also the tree that people in Suriname believe houses the ancestors. So we always,
Mm,
you see things under the tree for the ancestors. And so, in the end of the film, I have a ceremony with a shaman, and it's actually total coincidence or no coincidence, of course, under the
yes.
giant Kankantri. And so Kankantri is how the people in Suriname call this silk cotton tree, the giant of the forest. And the film follows a woman of Suriname, from Suriname, who enters a place of worship, in this case, an old synagogue, which has this sand floor. So it's a gorgeous space. And she cannot leave the place until she confronts and dances and does the rituals with all of her ancestors. And as you might know, in Suriname, but also a lot of the other Caribbean islands, we first had the enslaved people, and then Suriname got all the contractees, the contract workers. So it's a mixture of um, people from India specifically, people from Java. So it's a little bit different than the other islands. Java, Indonesia, China. There are the native peoples, the African people, the largest. Suriname has the largest maroon societies, the runaway slaves, who became independent and gained independence in 1700 already. So there's a really
Mm,
large in the inlands, in the Amazon, and they've kept their all their customs and dances. Um, and then so the White Dutch and the Jewish people, who controversially were slaveholders there. And so there's no language in the film. It's basically, you see the woman dancing with all her ancestors in and out of the synagogue, because in her mind, she travels,
gosh.
but we travel to the different places um, in there. And then she participates, dances, and she incorporates it and gets her bossy in the end. And then she is free to leave and is healed because she embraced all of her ancestors. And part of it was embracing all of her ancestors, but often we say, well, we're just African people, but I think most of us are actually mixed people. Um, and there are painful parts in that mixture. And so it's not about that, but it is about embracing all of that by how we are here, which is through music and dance. And that keeps us strong. And so
That's
that's what
that's
I really wanted to do as a dance film. It's a dance
Gotcha, gotcha. Yes, yes. That is the connection. That is the communication
film.
through the
Communication.
music and the dance, through the movement,
Yeah,
through the sound, through
exactly.
all of that is how we've always stayed connected, even through struggle.
Right.
Um,
And that gives us the power to also find the joy to, like, mix it all in our food, in our dances, in everything. And so it's very much about that, the story in a way we know, but I think it's told in a different way. I didn't do a documentary. There's a lot of interpretation in it. A festival recently in India, it was in a festival in India, and they build it as a magic realism docu dance film. Like, that's exactly what it is. Yay. Yay on putting, yay on naming it.
yes, yes, absolutely. We are talking to filmmaker Gabri Christa, also choreographer as well. writer as well. Many different talents. We don't want to limit them. She's going to be at the Conch International Film Festival this year, live in the flesh in Queens, Forest Hills. Make sure you come out and join us. ConchShowIFF.com for more information. How much did you learn yourself doing this film, or did you have a great knowledge already on some of the things that you covered? What did you learn, I should say?
Well, the process of learning was before when I first went to Suriname and started digging into my own past that I didn't know. You know, like I did new part. I knew the Black story, I knew the Chinese story, but not the other stories. And so it's been a 10 process. It took me 10 years to actually finally make this film because it's hard to get the story, also because of a lot of issues just in making the kind of work I make. It's not commercial. Um, it's very much also an art documentary, like it's that. Um, and so I did a deep dive into the whole history. I'm very much, it's in there. And then even on my website, I have all the links to where you are, what is the Jodensavanne, you know, like what is, like go back. If you're interested, you don't have to do it. I don't like to lecture people. It's just like, if you're interested, you can go to my website and find all the information about all the sites and some of the histories. I have a bibliography if you really want to know more, but I hope that people just feel the spirit of it, because it's really very much about the spirit of the ancestors, the music and dance. But I know a lot. I can start talking to you for 4 hours. I'm not going to do that. So yeah, so I know a lot about it, and I did my research on it. That's basically the answer
So,
to that. Sorry about that. Yeah.
so for those who want to find out more, tell them what the website is so they can go and do some research.
Yeah, it's my name.com, GabriChrista.com, and then Kankantri.
Gotcha.
Gabri Christa work Kankantri. But if you just do GabriChrista.com, you should get to my website and the you should see it.
Gotcha. And all their social media is the same. Gabri Christa at
Well, you find out
Instagram.
actually Shaolin films.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. And one last question. Your daughter, like, what does she think about what you're doing, the film, and such? What is her opinion on all of it?
Well, she was very inspired also because it's a story of her. She also dances. I dance. My dad was a dancer. Um, I think that's how he survived all his, the family's trauma by being a dancer. And so it's very much part of our lineage. And my husband, Vernon Reed, is also, his folks are from Montserrat. So there's, great interest in the islands and what it brings. And interesting enough, she identifies as Caribbean American.
Okay.
She's born here, which I was like, oh, okay,
Right.
while my husband identifies as American, although
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think there could be a whole conversation on that whole thing.
We can
Alone.
because it's so
Definitely.
complex, and what that means
Absolutely.
for everybody,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like, I think we from the islands that are more Latin influence on the level, because we're in coastal Venezuela, but then we have the Curaçao thing. It's we have so much in common with the other islands, and yet at the same time, we have our differences
Right.
in
Right.
where you're closest to or what your language is. Yeah, a lot of it's like language based.
Right.
But it's also just such a beautiful, amazing culture, all of the Caribbean,
Absolutely.
because I feel like we're so inventive. And
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that Conch International Film Festival um, took this film, because it's more experimental. And a lot of Caribbean film festivals don't really include experimental, or um, are a little bit more traditional, we say. And it speaks to their openness to embracing all of what we Caribbean people are, because we're not one thing.
Gotcha.
Also, in
Gotcha.
what we make, right? We're artists. We make different things.
Oh yeah.
So I'm excited about that, and them having an experimental category, and all the other categories they have. So you get a big variety of who we are as people.
Yes.
We make avant-garde work too. We experiment. We're not
Yeah. Listen,
traditional. And some
original people of the world, which means
yeah,
everything came from there. So everything. So that means we
everything.
do it all. It's
We do
not just one thing. That's just-
100%.
real quick, do you teach at all? Like,
Yeah, I teach. I teach film and I teach dance at Barnard.
okay, because I was gonna suggest that you do teach because you have a lot that people can gain from, I would say. So,
Yeah,
but you're already doing that. So, okay,
yeah,
cool.
I'm doing that with the screen dance and learning how to choreograph the camera, which you will see in my film. It's a lot of moving camera and that juxtaposition. So little different shots, kind of different shots, different take on how you edit, and a real belief in audiences that they can go into it if you give them permission to say, hey, just go with the flow, feel what you feel, and that's happened. So the film is actually doing really well, so I'm excited about that, although I need to hire an assistant. Get to too many places, which is great, but also a bit labor intensive on my end. But I'm producer too, so there you have that.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we appreciate you taking time out for coming through, and maybe your daughter could join you next time instead of calling you, and she could actually speak upon her experiences, with the
Yeah,
film and
I know.
what it is that she's doing. But we thank you for taking time out and joining us, and make sure everybody come out. She's going to be at the Conch International Film Festival this year, live in the flesh in Queens, Forest Hills. ConchIFF.com for more information, and we will see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Great to meet you. Beautiful.
Yes, yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. See you
All
at the
right.
festival.
See you at the festival. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Yes, bye bye. All right, folks, we got more to come, but for right now, that is it. Peace, be well.